My name is Daniel. I am 38 years old. I lost something in my family long before I understood what it was. I only saw it clearly when it was already gone. I grew up in a small, quiet house. The floors creaked softly under our feet. The kitchen always smelled of tea. My mother woke up early every morning. My father came home late every night. That was simply life to me. I thought that was how all families worked. At breakfast, my mother smiled and cut bread into neat, even slices. My father read the newspaper and said very little. At dinner, the silence stretched across the table like a tablecloth nobody ever removed. I learned to sit inside that silence and call it peace. I was wrong, but I was young, and young people often mistake quiet for calm. On Sundays, we visited my aunt across town. Her house was louder, warmer, full of laughter. My mother laughed there too, but something about her laugh felt careful, like she was holding a door closed from the inside. I thought she was just shy. When I was 12, I found a small wooden box in my mother's drawer. Inside were old photographs and letters folded many times. I did not read them. I only held them, and they felt strangely alive in my hands. My mother walked in and froze. Her face went pale. She took the box gently from me, closed the drawer, and said nothing. That night, she hugged me longer than usual. I could not sleep, though I did not know why. Years passed. The walls of our house stayed the same. The silence stayed the same. Sometimes I heard my parents speaking in low voices late at night. I could not make out words, only wait. I told myself all families had secrets. I told myself not asking was easier, and for a long time, not asking kept things smooth. At 18, I left for university in another city. My mother cried at the station. My father shook my hand, his grip firm and his eyes dry. On the train, I felt both light and heavy. I believed that distance would bring me clarity. I was wrong about that too. I called home every week. My mother talked about small things, weather, food, neighbors. My father said hello and goodbye. Sometimes I heard something tired in my mother's voice. I always asked if she was okay. She always said yes. During my second year, my aunt called. Her voice was tight. She asked me to visit without saying why. I went the following weekend. Her house smelled of soup. She looked older. She sat very close to me, and then she told me that my mother had been struggling, not in her body, but in her heart. She paused. She looked at the floor. Then she said the words that changed everything. My father was not my father. I laughed. I told her she was wrong. She shook her head slowly. She explained that my mother had loved another man before, a man who left. The man I called my father had agreed to raise me as his own. They never told me. They thought silence was kinder than the truth. I walked outside into the sharp evening air. Cars passed. People talked. Life moved forward without hesitation. I stood completely still. The hardest part was not the secret itself. The hardest part was looking back at every quiet moment. Every careful smile, every long hug, and understanding that none of it had been empty. All of it had been full of effort, full of a kind of love that did not know how to speak. I went home that night. My mother looked at me from the kitchen and knew immediately. She sat down, her hands trembling, and said my name. My father stood by the door and did not move closer. I wanted to shout. I wanted to ask 100 questions at once. But no words came out. My mother spoke slowly. She said she had been young and afraid. She said she believed love could grow into something that felt like truth. She said she only wanted to protect me. My father said nothing for a long time. Then I asked him directly if he had ever loved me. He looked at me with tired eyes and said yes. He said he chose to love me every single day. His voice broke once, just once, and then went quiet again. I stayed for 3 days. We ate together, spoke little, and moved carefully around each other, like people crossing a frozen lake. At night I heard my parents whispering again, but this time I understood what lived in those whispers. When I left, my mother cried into my coat. My father touched my shoulder and held his hand there longer than he ever had before. Back at school, I tried to live normally. I went to class, I met friends, I smiled, but inside I felt split in two, unsure of where I belonged or who I really was. I thought the truth would bring relief. Instead, it brought work, slow, quiet, invisible work. Years went by. I finished school, found a job, moved cities. I visited home on holidays. Things between us were polite, kind, and careful. My father began asking about my life. My mother watched every conversation between us with soft, hopeful eyes. One evening, my father and I fixed a loose chair together. We worked in silence, passing tools back and forth. Our hands touched once, briefly. He said he was proud of me. He had never said that before. Something settled inside me then. Not joy exactly, not pain, but something steady and solid. Later that same night, I sat with my mother while she held a warm cup of tea. She asked if I hated her. I shook my head. I told her I was tired. She nodded and said she was tired too. That was the moment something shifted. I saw clearly for the first time that the lie had not come from cruelty. It had come from fear, from love trying desperately to survive. Forgiveness did not arrive all at once. It came in small, quiet steps. A phone call, a shared meal, a visit that ended without tension. Silence that felt a little less sharp each time. Now I am 38. My parents are older and slower. When we sit together in the evening, the room feels warmer, not perfect, but honest enough. The secret no longer hides. It sits between us like an old photograph on a shelf, visible, acknowledged, no longer dangerous. I have learned that family is not built only on truth. It is built on staying, on choosing each other again and again, even after everything has been broken open and laid bare. When I visit now, I make tea in the same kitchen. The floors still creak. The walls are unchanged. My father reads my mother, watches the window. The silence is still there. But it has changed completely. Once it felt like something buried. Now it feels like something finally allowed to breathe.